Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. Just before, the episode gets started and stuff, I just want to say this is part 2 of 2 episodes. Listen to the first episode. I think it was released last week. We ended the last episode talking about movies and whatnot, but, with this one, we just get straight back into it, talking about travelling and society and culture, that sort of thing. At some point, I believe it's in this podcast. It might have been mentioned in the other one. If that's the case, I do apologise, because I don't listen to all the podcasts all the way through all the time, because, we have to talk in them loads and edit them and whatnot. But we talk about this video by, I think it's Prince Ea. It's either Prince E or it's spelled Prince EA, and it's this motivational video that me and TJ talk about a little bit. And it's fantastic, really. It's about 5 or 6 minutes long, I believe. It's on YouTube, and I've linked it down below in all the usual places, on all the podcast descriptions, it should say, in there, and on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. I'll put the link in there as well. And then the next week's episode is with my buddy Alex. We talk about movies and stuff in the next episode, like a whole hour of it. So if you like the 10-minute movie talk at the end of the previous one, then I've got another one coming up after that. I think that's about everything. So thanks again for everyone listening. Please like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, subscribe on all the sort of podcast apps and that sort of stuff, because it does really help. So thanks for listening again, guys, and I'll just get into the episode. But anyway, okay, so we were talking about, let me think, you were studying Mexican film cinema was the last thing I remember you talking about.
Yeah.
You were where were you travelling? That was it. You were in Bangkok, then you went to...
Chiang Mai.
Yeah, and the festival.
Yeah.
What was after the festival, after everyone was throwing water over each other and stuff like that?
Oh, let's see.
So how long, at what point was this? Was it only a couple of days in?
So... Maybe, the first day was amazing because I turned to my friend Jeremy and I was like, hey, I bet you wouldn't jump into the river. And he was like, haha, bet you wouldn't. So of course I did. Okay, so I just leapt into the river. I kept my head above the water. I was smart about it.
Yeah. What makes water so dirty? It's just dirty. It's just like stagnant leftover water in the middle of this river thing, or is it?
No, it's the river itself, but. It's the issue with water out there. It's very unclean water. Like that's why you don't drink the tap water, because you can get very ill.
Yeah.
So it's just disgusting water basically. But I mean, it's in the middle of a city as well, and there's rats living around it, and there's bats there as well. You know.
Okay, that's probably droppings and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You're disgusting human.
Yeah, so I jumped straight in there and had a little splish splash. And then when I climbed out of there, everybody looked at me in disgust, and we went about our day and pretended it didn't happen.
Did you just not shower after that or anything? Or did someone throw water over you?
We had water being thrown over us anyway, but when I got back to the little hotel hostel thing we were at, I did stink, so of course I took a shower. Okay. So that was that. And then after Songkran, during Songkran actually, we went to one of the elephant care sanctuaries. This is what I was talking about.
I think I remember, because I think I know where this is going, because I think you told me about it a bit, but go ahead.
So we went to one of the elephant care sanctuaries, and it was absolutely stunning. Like we chose the right one. They don't do any champing there. There's no abuse of the elephants. You do not ride the elephants at this sanctuary. It's the BMP Care Project, Elephant Care Project, for anybody who wants to check it out. And it's such an otherworldly experience, to be honest, being face to face with an elephant. 'Cause these grand creatures. There was 5 of them at the sanctuary. There was Laong Nao, Mali, who were the 2 sort of teenage almost elephants, and then there was the mother Natalie, the matriarch, so the grandmother was Ploy, and the little baby called Peanut.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Save the best one for last.
Oh my god. And so we had that sort of experience, and actually the elephant Ploy was, I don't know what it was. I don't know whether sometimes when you meet somebody you have that instant connection. It's like a soul connection. That's it's like a soulmate. Right. I felt that with which is going to sound like the most hippie bullshit, but I genuinely felt this like wonderful
She's barefoot
connection.
right now, just so you guys know.
And wearing baggy harem pants that I keep getting caught and tangled in.
You had a crystal on your necklace as well.
Yeah, crystals. I've got a carved wolf, and I've got an elephant on my t-shirt as well.
Yeah, so she is full hippie.
Full hippie.
Hippie traveller. You're gonna go vegan. You're gonna go off travelling and come back vegan.
No, I went vegan for 2 weeks while I was away, and
you did try it.
Hated it.
So I got no problem with anyone being vegan. Kudos to them. It's difficult. Very difficult.
It's incredible. I mean, the reason we went vegan, I went. Basically, we met some Canadian chicks out there, and they were both vegan, and we got along.
You
all
just
three
really
of
want to
them.
impress them and kind of sleep with one of them.
No,
Just be in the
one of them
vegan
was
clan.
married and on a honeymoon without her husband.
The vegan vagina.
No, one of them was married, and one of them was had a boyfriend back home, and both of them actually did. But I mean, I wasn't trying to, it was just friendship. But yeah, so these vegan chicks, and we got along really well with them. Started traveling with them for a little while, and I was like, you know what? In support of you guys, because I appreciate the reason that why they were doing it. I've got my own reasons for why I don't really agree with veganism.
Okay.
But in support of those girls, I was like, right, for the sake of trying it and in support of you guys, yes, I'm going to go vegan. I'd lasted about 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure I had cheese and stuff over that point. But I lasted about 2 weeks, and then I think we must have been sat like in a restaurant, and I just ordered the fattest like bit of chicken, and
nice.
Like it was good.
It's like with me, if I'm vegan or vegetarian, swapping the main when cooking at home and stuff like that, which obviously I do a lot. It's like eating at home. I could changing. There's a lot of corn stuff, which is really nice, like the corn mince and that sort of thing. And there's certain other vegetarian options, like substitutes for meats, which I could probably quite fairly easily do. It costs me a bit more money and stuff. But I'd have to take other supplements and stuff. But the main issue I have with veganism or vegetarianism is the hardest part for me would be not the main meats. It's all the little things. It's like all the sweets that have got gelatin in. It's all the products that have got dairy in. It's all the things that have got egg in it. And it's just like the list is so huge. And it's like I do respect vegans who aren't going on about it all the time. I do really respect them because it is a really difficult thing to do, and to be able to really be on top of it and stuff. It's a noble cause, but I don't think I could. I think it's too much. If I was like super rich, if I could like pay someone to kind of be my personal chef and they just cook, like they sort out all my meals and stuff like that, and like a personal trainer and things like that. If I could have that sort of thing, maybe I'd kind of go down that route, see how that goes, But it's with supplements as well, you have to do, and you have to really know what you're doing. You have to really look into it, because you can make yourself very, very sick if a lot of people don't realise that if you go on a full vegan diet and most people have to take a certain supplement. I can't remember what it is. I think it's a vitamin B supplement, but I might be wrong. Yeah, it's a certain supplement that you have to take.
Yeah, veganism is very difficult. You do have to put a lot of research into it. Like there are just certain vitamins and nutrients that you do not get from sort of other substitutes, like stuff like B12 and carnosine. Obviously carnosine only comes from red meat, like stuff like that. But then at the same time there's actually I was talking to a friend of mine, Chris, and he was telling me about stuff. Basically he's a traveller as well, and he's currently in Romania, I believe, and he's doing some permaculture stuff there, and he is vegan, and he's done so much research into this stuff. But he's also whilst he's out there, because he's living with vegans as well, they're teaching him how to supplement his diet. And you can get vitamins like B12 and carnosine, but from doing stuff like fermenting mushrooms for a specifically long time in a certain amount and put in, but that is very extensive. You have to put the effort and the time and the money into that kind of thing if you want that stuff. Otherwise you just have to take supplements, like actual supplements.
I think it's South India. I think it is the majority. I think it's the majority of India generally is vegetarian, but I think it's either South or it's some sort of part. Of India, and it's like 80 or 90% vegetarians there. It's that sort of thing.
Really depends on the area of India, because
someone told me that vaguely. I'm not. I haven't.
Like
I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's like I didn't realise so many people in India are vegetarian. But it does make sense.
It is a very high population, but meat is. It's less that they're vegetarian out of choice. It's just that meat is less readily available there.
Yeah, and they use other things to substitute it. Well,
Yeah,
in a lot of their curry sauces, you can put in so many things in a curry sauce that if you need, part 1, 2, 3 off this type of meat, well, if you can find those in, certain veg, you can put it all in together, or certain spices and stuff. And
oh mate, I'm really craving some Bombay potatoes right now.
I'm more of a bhaji or a samosa guy. I just love that sort of thing.
I hate onion bhajis. I hate them. I don't understand. I just don't.
Why don't I agree in this podcast with you? What's wrong with you? Okay, anyway, obviously joking. So with oh man, you're making me hungry thinking about Indian food. Indian food, it's one of those little things where when you smell it, it just few things make me more hungry. I think it's Subway. The smell of Subway is better than pretty much anything Subway tastes. Even though I do really like Subway, but the smell of Subway,
I don't know, man.
as well as the smell of a good Indian, those two things. Then all food, to be honest, I go near. If I even look at if I look at any Mexican food, even a cartoon of it, I'm just like, I need a taco. I just need one.
See, the smell of Subway now, especially the smell of baking bread.
So how long did you work at Subway?
2.5 fucking years.
Too
long.
See, I've never worked. I worked at HMV, but I still love DVDs. So
how long did I work there? Too fucking long, mate. No, it was horrible. No, it wasn't that bad. But I mean, now whenever I go to Subway, I'm always reminded of like when I worked there, and because I worked there for so long.
Yeah.
I'm. Like, if somebody's making me a sandwich and they're not making it the right way. Like, I know the specific, like, the layout to the bread.
You're the expert. Oh,
I am the Subway expert.
This is it. You're complaining about going to Subway because you're like some sort of Subway goddess.
I am the Subway goddess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know my way around a foot long.
Oh, Lord.
Just
a quick one then. What's your perfect sub?
Oh, are we talking perfect sub if I'm making it, like if I'm able to make it, or if I'm just in a Subway ordering it?
If you're making it, let's say you have to make it in Subway, and the price isn't an option.
All right. Bearing in mind what I do with my food has been called by some of my friends borderline OCD.
Oh god, you're not gonna like measure it with like rollers and stuff. Like,
no.
I'm
not that bad.
Curving at a certain
I'm
angle.
not that bad, but. So I almost always have a 6-inch herbs and cheese, or just a plain Italian.
Okay.
What you do first is you layer.
I just want to say you're 6 inches. Pussy numbers. It's pussy size.
Yeah, but wait until you know what fucking goes in it, man. You layer the inside of the bread with cheese on both sides. So all 3 cheeses. So you got the pepper jack cheese, you got the regular cheddar, and then you've got the grated.
Yeah, the pepper jack's my favourite.
Yeah, pepper jack is good. But you layer all 3 cheeses over the top. Then you melt that in the microwave with a little bit of the chicken breast on the top of that, right? When you bring it back out, you put you put pepperoni slices in the toaster on it by itself, so it crisps up. Then when it comes out, you tear that apart and put it into it, so it's like pulled, crispy pepperoni. And then you put a little bit of turkey slice on the top of that, and then you put more cheese. And then you go, you microwave that all together, so it's like a mess of cheesy meat, right?
Yeah.
Bring it out. Depends what salad you want, but I always put gherkin, olives, and then you put literally just those 2. Screw the rest of the salad. And then I put.
Are you one of those weird who likes horseradish as well?
No, I hate horseradish.
Or mustard.
I love mustard.
Thank God.
This is the thing. Put a little squeeze of deli mustard on there.
Oh.
Put some mayonnaise, some chipotle mayo, maybe a little bit of hot chili as well.
I love chipotle mayo, but I'm not a big fan of normal mayo.
Put some salt in that. They've got parmesan now. A lot of Subways have parmesan that you can add as well. So put some parmesan in there. Close it up.
Cheese.
But then you buy a packet of crisps as well. Like maybe salt and vinegar, maybe some tangy cheese Doritos. You crush them up. You put that in the sandwich and you just munch on it.
See, people think you're crazy, but the thing is, when I make burgers, when I have my barbecues here, I always like to get I get a nice standard good quarter pounder beef burger. I get the Mexicana cheese, the peppers and jalapenos and whatever in it. I get chorizo, it's cut in the circles, it's just like almost like pepperoni sort of thing, but with chorizo. I get chili flakes, Jack Daniel's barbecue sauce, the glazed one, and a Dorito or a couple of Doritos.
Singular Dorito.
It depends on the size of the burger where I get it from, but normally I try to get the bigger ones. And you just put all that together, and it sounds like that doesn't sound crazy different, but all those things put together just. They work perfectly.
Yeah.
Anyone who's had one of those burgers at my house,
man.
anyone who's had one of them, they always ask for that every time now. It's just like, because it's only little things, but I've always said I'm not a great chef, but I'm a good food modifier. I just put loads of shit together. Like when I make omelettes, I'm quite good because you can put anything in an omelette, so I've got to play around with stuff.
God, but, we've had this discussion before, that I hate omelettes and you just love making them.
I know, it's terrible. It's literally any woman that I'm friends with or try and date, for some reason they just None of them are to do like omelets. It's a really weird
Oh,
thing.
Mike,
or women.
is that where this is going?
Oh, I see. No, of course it is not. I've known you for long enough. I've known you for too long. That's all tomfoolery.
Well, now I'm just insulted and disappointed. That's what I came here for.
No woman's ever been disappointed with the prospect of me not wanting to date them. That's not how my life works.
Yeah, but women are frequently disappointed around you anyway, so...
Not around me. It's similar sort of wording, but not quite. I'm normally quite disappointed in that area. Anyway, so we're talking about my Subway, just real quick, is just, I just have the standard sort of, I go chicken, bacon, pepper cheese, lettuce, barbecue sauce, toasted. That's just my easy peasy simple.
Dull bastard.
When I go to I don't go to Subway that often. If I want to make my own stuff, it's different, but it costs extra money, and when it comes to treating myself, I can sometimes, when it's at Subway, it's like, I sometimes go for the meatballs, things like that, but I'm not behind the counter like you are. Like being able to specifically toast the pepperoni by itself and shred it into there while having like 3 different cheeses. It's like...
It's fucking delicious.
That's like, I can't just jump behind the counter and push Sally out of the way and go, move out of the way, I know what I'm doing. It's like, no, that won't work.
But
anyway, we're talking about food, weren't we, obviously?
Yes. I want to say yes.
we'll think yes. People are going to be listening to this being like, no.
You were talking about India, I think.
South India because of vegetarianism or vegan. Talk about veganism.
Oh, and I went vegan for 2 weeks while I was away.
that was a joke because I made a joke about you going vegan, didn't I? Because
yeah, you did, because I'm a hippie bitch.
That's it. So you were elephant sanctuary. That's it, because you said about you being the hippie because you felt like you had a connection with this animal. Yeah. Well, people get that. Like, not to downplay your experience or anyone else's, but like with dogs.
Yeah,
People, especially when people, if sometimes your friends get dogs and they just immediately love you, and you get that. And there's certain other, like my cousin is a dog walker. My cousin Charlotte, obviously you met, which I'll be having her on the podcast as well. Everyone I know, when a couple of her dogs that she walks with other people absolutely love me. Like, just for some reason, just really, they got this gigantic Labrador called Dudley who just loves me. It's great. But you do get this degree of connection when you have your own pet as well. You do get that as well. So I can understand with a creature that's so large and so intelligent and so breathtaking. You know, an elephant, like obviously dogs and cats are really cool in so many different ways, and so are other animals. But seeing something so big as an elephant in person, in the flesh, and knowing how intelligent they are and what you can never see this in England, really.
Exactly.
You know? In zoo, you can kind of see them. I think there's a couple of zoos, but it's not the same at all.
It's not.
So you met you had this bond with the elephant. You touch it or hug it or something, or?
Yeah, basically. So the day itself was going for walks with the elephants, having baths with them, feeding them medicine, and having like mud fights and stuff, which was all amazing.
That's
but like
playing, being playful with them, sort of.
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. It was lovely, but like it was weird because when I say connection, I mean like it's not just me looking at this piece and thinking, wow, that's amazing. You know, I feel that she kept like pressing her forehead up against mine.
Yeah.
And like wrapping her trunk around like my arms and my waist and stuff.
Was this the baby elephant?
No, this is the grandmother, the matriarch.
Oh, the great grandmother. Oh, okay, it's not great grandmother. The grandmother, sorry. Yeah.
Ploy. She she wasn't even a grandmother. I think she was just like the oldest, a surrogate grandmother.
Like the elder. Almost.
Yeah. But because it was a rescue sanctuary and it was only females there, they all sort of came and they came under her wing, or you know, great leathery leg. But she was incredible, and she like there was one moment when we were walking along towards the baths and she found a flower, like a flower on the floor that had fallen from a tree, and she gave it to me.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That is just fantastic. I did see a picture of you. That's what I said earlier when I knew about this a little bit. I did see that picture of you. I think you were hugging either a leg or a trunk. Or
she pressed her trunk up against mine, like, and sort of pressed, like, just stayed there for a little while, and I sort of like hugging her trunk back. And
that's amazing. Really such a big having such a big animal as well give you gentle, clear affection. Because like an elephant could kill you easily.
Yeah.
You know? It's like with a cat when. You get cats or dogs, well, not as much dogs, but you know, sometimes cats, they'll just kind of let you stroke them and things like that, and it's just like, it's not the same dynamic as a creature way bigger than you, kind of giving you in a way, you know, obviously you are hugging it, but it being like that to you, it's like, this isn't a dominance thing, you are just, you could kill me, but you're choosing to be gentle.
Cats are fucking dangerous, look at that. Look at what my cat did.
Wow, she's showing a chest off to me. That's what the kind of podcast has become now.
Well, yeah, we're actually both
Girls
naked right now. That's.
I am. Yeah, if you hear any like sticking noises, that's just me squelching on the leather sofa,
peeling ourselves off the leather. Yeah, no, he didn't. That wasn't even from anything. I tried to move him out of the way, and he flipped the fuck out and just scratched me, and I was like, ow, fuck you.
So with the. So after the elephant sanctuary, how long were you with the elephants and stuff?
It was just the day with them, but I was actually offered a job. One of the guys there like noticed how well I was getting along with them, and that I actually knew some shit about elephants. He was like, "Well, do you wanna like maybe come and volunteer here?" And I was like, "Well, fuck yeah."
Yeah.
Turns out, but a couple of weeks later, it all fell to shit because turns out he was just using that as a ploy to essentially get me into bed. He was very interested, and he said he was going to talk to his boss, and then kept putting it off, and then obviously he never did. And I clocked on. I was like, right, obviously he's not,
I see.
Yeah, which was devastating. But there are sanctuaries out there that you can get jobs at, not easily, but I mean, if you're willing to put in the time and the
Watch
effort.
the space, it would be of yawn. It would be like TJ, elephant conservationist. Really? Conservationist?
Yes, I want to say yes.
I want to make it sound cool and edgy, but I can't think of the word.
Well, I mean,
Because it wouldn't be trainer or anything like that, would it? It would just be the queen of the elephants.
Queen
you just come
of
back
elephants.
and you come back to England and you've managed to bring the elephants with you, and you come into like the city centre like with your arms out, 2 feet on the elephant trunk, walking into the city.
mate, I'm at least like 80% sure you couldn't fit an elephant on a plane. I'm afraid.
You'd have to carry it like have one of those helicopters that like carries tanks and stuff like that.
Carry them across the ocean.
Yeah,
Fucking do it.
just like an army of elephants, like just loads of them.
You'd get a bit bored though. You'd be there for hours, and the elephant would get a bit bored. Just be like, oh, bit sick of hanging here.
We'll introduce the elephant to the British countryside. See how that fares. See how they do. I wonder what they would do.
I wonder how an elephant would react to a sheep.
That would be quite interesting. I would imagine how adorable it would be if you had like elephants in England and they were like in fields, just kind of sat down, like one elephant per field with just loads of sheep that kind of the sheep kind of loved them and thought they were gigantic, and just like the elephant sat down and all the sheep kind of sit around it. There's like furry wool all around this elephant, and then it like gets up and all the sheep are just like following it around like bah! come back, a giant trunked hairless sheep. Yeah, that'd be adorable.
Well, I mean, cats are that stupid. Cats think that humans are just big hairless cats.
Well, that's
that
what
are
they
really
give us
bad
food,
at
isn't
being
it?
a
When
cat.
they kill
Yeah,
things 'cause
they
they think we're
bring
rubbish
us
hunters.
like dead animals because they think we're just shit at finding our own food. It's like nah, mate, it's in the cupboard. They don't understand
Got
that.
some Marmite in the cupboard. I don't need the rat.
I love Marmite.
I love Marmite as well. People who don't love Marmite upset me. It's like there's a few things. Like if people don't love flapjacks, Marmite, Star Wars, or me at all, those things upset me.
They don't worship the ground you walk on.
Well, everyone's got to.
I mean, you worship the ground you walk on. Like, is that not enough?
I do it inadvertently though, because my head is so far up my own arse. As far as I can walk, it's just some sort of weird angle thing where I can always kiss the ground as well.
I see.
Yeah, that's how I roll. Anyway, so after the elephant day, where'd you go from there?
Oh, from there, I think we had a day trip to Chiang Rai, and which was stunning. Like Chiang Rai itself, we went to the White Temple, which was it was only built a couple of 100 years ago, but it was so magnificent. Like the temple itself is gorgeous, but they have in the ground around it, the architect has sculptures of I believe it's supposed to be a depiction of hell.
Right.
And it's hands reaching up and like skulls being torn apart and
That's mad. That's really
weird
cool.
demon creatures, yeah, and it's all carved white stone.
Oh man, carvings are mental as well.
Yeah, and it's just like it's absolutely breathtaking. It was a little bit, it was eerie as well. It was stunning to look at, but it was very it took us aback quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay. So what? How long were you there for? Sorry, when you went to the temple, was it just like that was sort of?
That was just the day trip because Chiang Rai is fairly close to Chiang Mai itself. But we went to the Golden Triangle as well, which is the river connects Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand, and you can go onto the boat and sort of stop off at each place. So I spent about half an hour in Myanmar and 20 minutes in Laos. Well, we had some snake whiskey.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like they've got little markets obviously right where you get off, and they have snake whiskey, scorpion whiskey, I say whiskey. It's like pure it's moonshine. It's just fucking like it's the locals' version of moonshine. It's
I see.
made out of rice. And there was one that we didn't try that we got told about after we got back on the boat, which was tiger penis whiskey.
Is that meant to be one of the aphrodisiac sort of things?
No, tiger penises, but the actual whiskey itself, it's not that, you know. Yeah, and that was weird. Like it was because it's so strong and because it's got snake venom and scorpion venom and shit in it. Taking a sip of it, like when you take a shot, 'cause you do a shot at a time. It's just all of a sudden it's almost like the feeling of nitrous oxide. Where you get a bit wavy and you sort of
I know a few people who have, but I haven't done it myself. No.
Fair. Well, basically,
that's
it's like
laughing gas for those who don't. Yeah. You know, when you fill up, people think do they fill up balloon. You get the canister, you fill up the balloon with it, and then you. Yeah, it's one of those legal ones at the moment.
Speaking of which, I saw a plant while I was out there that was the vase itself was see through and it was just full of NOS canisters. Full of nitrous oxide. I don't know why. It wasn't even like a hippie hostel. It was just this random cafe that had nitrous oxide.
Fair enough, I suppose. You know, when in Rome, I suppose.
Well,
not quite Rome, is it? As a story.
One in Chiang Mai. Yeah. But yeah, so there was so there was that. So we went to the Golden Triangle, and went back down to Bangkok. While we were in Chiang Mai, but the hostel that we stayed at, it is very rare that a group of people will meet in one place on the world and all of them will just get along so well. Yeah. Like, it was myself, Jeremy and Ryan, who we were all travelling together. Jeremy and Ryan were my travel companions to Asia. And then there was 3 Canadian girls who I've already mentioned. That was Sierra, Sasha, and Chelsea, bless her. And then there were 2 other Canadian guys who happened to live about 10 minutes down the road from the Canadian girls, but they didn't know each other.
That's amazing.
Yeah, right? They were Hayden and Ryan. There were a couple of London boys, Jack and Ant. And then there was a couple of others, there was a German chick and a couple of Australian guys and stuff. They all sort of bounced around, but that was the main group of people. Okay. And we were only there together for about a week. But it was
was this one of the hostels or hotels or something?
Yeah, yeah.
So is this
little guest house?
So just timeline wise, so you get to Bangkok. How many days is it from there to where you're speaking of now?
This is about 2 weeks in, I'd say.
Okay, so 2 weeks in, so you're at this. How long are you at this? Is it hostel or hotel or?
It's sort of both. It's like a very, very posh hostel, but it's not quite posh enough to be a hotel.
Okay, we'll call it a hostel for ease. So you're at this hostel. How long did you stay at the hostel for?
We were there for the 6 days that we were in Chiang Mai.
So there 6 days. So then, were the other people, were they there about a week or so as well?
Yeah, so
it was a similar sort of time.
Yeah, basically, enough. we all left. Actually, when everybody left, we all left within about 4 days of each other.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was really emotional. There's one video I've got on my phone actually where it's myself, Jeremy, and Ryan in the taxi. Everybody else has left by this point, apart from 2 other Canadians that we met, the Quebecians. But Alex and Vivian, and they we're in the taxi in the back of the tuk-tuk. We're driving off, and they're running after our taxi because they they don't want us to go, and they're just left on their own after we left, and it was all really emotional.
That's intense.
We got very close very quickly. This group of people. We were basically just spending every night down in the bar, just at one of the tables. So obviously the bar closes at about midnight, 1 o'clock, but we would just stay there for another couple of hours, just at one of the tables because it's an open area. Yeah. And all of us just sat talking about life, interacting with each other. A couple of romances blossomed, you know. And
it can often happen.
It happens when you travel, man. You meet so many people out there.
There's got to be people that you have that sort of connection with.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't understand how people can go traveling in a relationship with somebody when that person isn't there, because the deep bonds you make with people, the deep connections you make with people when you travel is ridiculous.
Well, sometimes with obviously there with let's say cheating, just make the phrase easier. There's obviously the physical side of it, but there can be a degree of emotional cheating, and I've been with women in the past who have said just like they would rather, I've never cheated, just to clarify, but they would rather I almost physically cheated with someone as a one-off thing than had this connection with another person to that degree, because certain people find that emotional connection is so much deeper than the physical part. Obviously, I believe that cheating on either way is kind of wrong, but it's like, if you go away and you're away from like a partner for a few weeks, even a few months and things like that, and then you are with this other person who is like, I don't believe anyone's got the one. I believe that you find people who can become your one, but there's loads of people in the world that you could really perfectly click with, you know.
Yeah.
And often, you know, some people have partners and they pass away, and then, or maybe they even split or whatever, and then they find another person who makes them happy for X amount of years.
Yeah.
So I believe there's you know, if anyone's worried about not being able to find the one, well, there's loads of them. You know, there's you know, you can have more than one. The one,
an endless supply of soulmates out there. You just got to find them. That's the beauty of. That's one of the rare beauties of the size of the population that this planet has. The fact that there are so many people out there that you can have incredible experiences with, that you can be best friends with, have children with them, get married, or you can just be best friends for life. You know, there's so many people out there, and you can have
and it all different as well. So I've met, you know, on Facebook, I think I've got 200 or 300 friends or something like that. I don't really add that many people and stuff. I can't really bother with it. But at one point, I think I had like 600 or something like that. So if we say I've known over the last 10 years about 1,000 people well, you know, or at least I know them by name and appearance. Okay, so I think like out of those 1,000, I'd say there's about 20, no, not including family, there's about 20 or 30 who I kind of maybe need, I'd say is the word, like, that I'd really upset if they went. And then another 70 or so who I really like as people, but they're not that close to me. But it's thinking like...
And which one am I?
You're number 2.
Yay.
Bradley's my number 1.
Of course. Hey,
Bradley's
my number 1.
We're not going to get into this on the air. We're not going to get into this on the air. We've been down this road before.
Brad
will have to... when I get Bradley on the podcast, he's going to tell me that I'm his number 1.
If he does, I will cry.
That's it. I'm going to get him to do
Bradley, if you say on air that Mike is your number 1, I am cutting you out of my life.
But the only way that you can get over this is don't tell him you've said this. Just make sure he listens to this podcast. Yeah. And then that'll be it. And then he'll know. You got to do it. You got time. I'm going to try and get him on as quick as possible.
I will come for you. I will.
If anyone listens to the podcast when I have Bradley on, doesn't love Bradley, I don't want you to listen to my podcast. That's it. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like me. That's fine. But if you don't like Bradley, that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so with so you leave the hostel. So this must be about 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
Okay. So where'd you go?
About 2.5.
Okay. Yeah. So are you still in Thailand? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. So where'd you go from there?
Go down to Bangkok. We spend a couple of days there, like preparing, getting ready to cross over the border into Cambodia.
Okay.
And whilst we're in Bangkok, we're chatting with the girls, Chelsea and Sierra, and they're like, Sasha's gone home by this point.
Okay.
But Chelsea and Sierra, they've gone off to another part of Thailand, one of the islands, and we're like, hey, so do you want to just like come and meet us in Bangkok and travel with us more? And they were like, do you know what? Yes. And they just phoned up their home. Sierra was traveling full time at that point, so she didn't have to, but Chelsea phoned up work and got another couple of weeks off, and they just came to Cambodia with us.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was it was so good. It was when they agreed to it, and they met us in Bangkok, and we met them like off the bus, and they just came back, and we were all so happy to be reunited again. And we've got a WhatsApp group, all of us, everybody that was at the hostel, and we were all in a WhatsApp group, and we were just sending messages, like photos of all of us back together again, and everybody was like, oh, screw you guys.
So when you're in Cambodia, what sort of stuff do you get up to? I don't know much about Cambodia, so...
Nobody does. This is the thing.
Not even the Cambodians, not even the people living there. No one, just know it's a mystery.
Actually, they're called Khmer people.
Khmer?
Yeah. Khmer's their language, and like the sort of base, like Thai.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the Khmer people.
They're not Thailandish. That would be interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's that kind of vibe. Like the Khmer people out there, it's like they have such a vibey. It's the one country I can genuinely apply the word vibe to, and it's not me trying to like oversell it.
Yeah.
It's just such a gorgeous place. Like if you go, you really need to go and do the history.
Yeah.
Because the Cambodian genocide, back in the, I believe, 70s and 80s was horrendous.
Yeah.
Like it was absolutely heartbreaking. I went to one of the killing fields outside of Phnom Penh, which is the capital city. the killing field is basically, it's one of the places. It's a bit like Auschwitz, basically. It's one of those places.
I was thinking Auschwitz when you were talking about.
It's a camp where people were sent to die.
Have you been to Auschwitz?
No.
No, have I. I want to go.
I really want to go.
If you ever go, let me know. We'll go.
Yeah,
we'll go together. Sweet.
And it's a stunning place. The one killing field I went to, I don't know about the other ones, but the one I went to, we walked in and they gave us an audio, like a tape.
Oh, yeah, I've
like
been to a museum or two that've got that sort of thing. Yeah, and you walk up to certain places and it like certain exhibits or certain
you press
areas.
a certain button for each thing. Yeah,
they're cool.
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah.
And on the tape there were people, like Cambodians, talking about their experiences in these camps, and the experiences of the time. We went to the museum first, actually, which I would definitely recommend. Basically, the museum is it's in Phnom Penh itself. It's one of the places. It's a converted school.
Right.
When the war broke out, it's one of the places where they took prisoners, and like they built prison cells in the school, and they like tortured people there, like, horrifically tortured them.
So just to be clear, so do they what, because they're running out of space, so they put prisons in schools, or the people of the school went into what?
It was just conveniently located, I suppose, and it was like a good place for them to sort of have as a camp. It's just like it was a building that was there that had the
space, so they just crammed it. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, if for anybody that doesn't know about the Cambodian genocide,
I don't personally.
There we go. Basically, the Khmer Rouge was that was the name of the baddies in this history sitcom. It's
a Kabaddi.
The Khmer Rouge were led by Pol Pot and a few other sort of generals and stuff.
Okay.
They were people who it's difficult to say what they actually wanted, because the motives behind what they were doing was sort of came from a few different things. I'm not actually that well versed in the reasons why they did what they did.
Yeah.
But they took over the country, and they did things like having containment camps in the middle of cities and out on the outskirts of nowhere, where they would just send people to get murdered, basically.
Right.
And the museum, museum for it is, it's like I said, it's a converted school. It's in the middle of Phnom Penh, and you wander around and you look at the prison cells that they were kept in. You look at the beds they were chained to. You look at like there's pictures of their mutilated bodies. There's a room at the end that's got human remains from some of the victims.
Christ.
Yeah, it's very, very heavy stuff. I mean, all the group of us that went, so that's Jeremy, Ryan, myself, Chelsea, and Sierra. A couple of us did have to step out of the room a few times, like, because it's a large compound.
Yeah.
So like you just step outside and you have to sit down and just think, Jesus fucking Christ.
It's some of those, like I haven't. Unfortunately, I'm really interested in that sort of thing. All the darker parts of history, just like the worst things that humans can do to each other. It is quite intriguing to see. You look at the past and you can kind of see what about the future and that sort of thing as well. See, unfortunately, certain patterns that can potentially arise, and the horrors and how recent certain things happened. And I've always wanted to go to Auschwitz and things like that. I mean, I've been to I've been to a couple of wartime museums and stuff. I've been to I went to Belgium, and I went to there's some trenches in Belgium, and it's like Belgium has got the graves from World War One, I believe it was, and it just rose and rose, and all the gravestones are like identical. They're all just a white cross, and it just rose, and there's just so many of them. You go to this museum and you walk around these trenches and stuff, and you've got like it shows you like how they were living and like, the war that was going on, people talking from it and things like that, I believe. And it's just like you stand in this place and you just think, X amount of time ago, the things that was happening here is just madness. I mean, obviously the war, World War One, I believe it was, it's not, the atrocities done aren't quite the same as a genocide, but it's still those darkest parts of humans, just because a group of people had these certain ideas, and it's why certain ideas can be quite dangerous and things. But it's like, it's just a mental. I always find it when I stand at places, especially being in England. There's so much history to a lot of places where you go to certain castles and things, and they were there. Like I was down in Cornwall, it was like 400 years ago. It was like the castles of people living in and things like that. And it's just like you stand in this place and you're just like, 100 years ago, not even a blink in the time of the universe, this sort of craziness was happening here. And like, all the things. It's just when you're standing somewhere and you can like, feel the history of it, you know, and you're just surrounded by it, and you can really let your imagination go, especially when you're in old castles and things. You can just kind of, you can almost feel it. And it's such a weird thing, like when you're at those sorts of places where something like massively historical has happened, especially when it's something so dark.
Yeah.
You know, you get that. Obviously, a lot of people could argue it's kind of in your head where you get yourself into that position where you're reading all about all these sorts of things that happen. But you do sometimes get to these places, and it's just like something, almost in the air changes.
Yes.
And you can feel it. It's something's eerie and a bit uneasy, and you can feel like it's almost. Certain people believe or think that if loads of people die in one area, it can. If people believe in things like the soul and that sort of stuff, you can almost think it stains it.
Yeah.
The one area where so many people get killed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People even say about slaughterhouses. People say you go into a slaughterhouse with animals, and it's just even if there's no animals being killed at that moment or anything, you go to old ones or things like that, and it's just like you can feel the death, and you can kind of in the air and stuff. There's something that's not quite right, like a sourness almost to it.
That's why people buy murder houses and things, for that value.
Yeah.
But that was one thing about the killing fields that like really gets you. Like it's they had basically the killing fields themselves, because people were murdered there and they're thrown into mass graves. You know, nobody's disturbed them. They're still there. You're wandering around, and literally underfoot are just hundreds of dead bodies.
Yeah.
Which is intense. And there were a few graves where you can look down into, and there's bones poking out the floor. You can see them.
Christ.
And there's this one thing. It's called the Killing Tree.
Right.
And it's right next to the, I can't remember the name of the other tree. But it's a tree that used to play music very loudly in order to mask the screams of the people that were dying there, so that people in the nearby area wouldn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because
it was all done. It wasn't like this was done overtly. This was done on the sly, which makes it even worse in some ways.
Yeah, it's just So those things that are some of the worst things that humans can do to each other, and it's just mad. Obviously, comparing it with the parallels to obviously a lot of genocides. There's the Armenian genocide. There was obviously probably the most famous, and obviously Stalin committed a lot of atrocities as well. But probably the most well-known genocide is the Holocaust, obviously, and it's just. You know, I haven't been to Auschwitz, so I really would like to go, but you see some of the pictures of the places there and the people that are there, and it's just like, what people fail to believe is that there's a guy called Jordan Peterson who's I can't remember what his job was, but he's on the Joe Rogan podcast quite a lot. He's an incredibly intelligent man, and he talks about how humans have all got the capacity for evil within them. Every person's got the capacity for it. It's just under circumstance. If you were born in 20s Germany, and then this happened to your family, and this happened to your family, and there's this propaganda and that propaganda, and this is this, it's saying it's not an impossibility that you could have became a guard at one of the concentration camps, because different circumstances are all human. Sometimes there are people like Hitler who are truly evil or twisted, but it's like. Some of the most evil things, some of the hardest parts about going to that is seeing, this person who worked at a concentration camp, you track back their lineage, it was like, they were my age, or they were like, had almost my sort of life, but because the atmosphere and the changings were different, they went on to do these horrible things, and it's just like, it really hits you when you look deep enough into it, and it's not quite the same in today with me, like, I don't have these moments of evil like to that degree, but you do get those moments as well in your head, like where you stand at the edge of a cliff and you get that voice just tells you to jump. And sometimes when you hold a knife or something and there's people around you, you know there's that tiny voice that is saying you could stab all these people, you could stab yourself, you could stab these people. There's this when you're driving a car, it's like you could swerve and just do it, and it's obviously like
they're called intrusive thoughts. Yeah,
so that's the sort of things that can happen. But if you think about even if you don't let them take over, it's the slow progression which can get it. There's been quite a few psychological experiments into people get power and circumstance and all these sort of things can happen, and you look at what people do to each other and it's scary. It's truly, when you see when you see humans killing animals, it's absolutely disgusting and horrendous how people could do that. But when it's human on human, there's a different thing in the mind to it to a degree. It's like, because I think it's the empathy of it. Because obviously you can empathise with dogs and cats to a degree, but when you watch a human get killed or you see human remains, there's something deep to like your core, probably like your DNA or something. There's just core that you recognise that, and it's it hits you like a train almost when you're in these situations. When I found out about, you know, the Holocaust and Auschwitz and things like that, and I saw some documentaries or videos on them when I was in school and things in history, it's one of the first times for me that I got really hit with how horrendous people can be, you know. And it's not, when you get a serial killer, you think that's a crazy individual, but when you get whole groups of people like doing these genocides or doing these sorts of like ethnic cleansings and all that sort of horrendousness, and it's just like, it's all building up of that us versus them mentality, you know. The Holocaust is always, you know, they're the Jews, they're different to us, you know. And it's that splitting of it all, and it's things like in a kind of weird way, with you traveling and stuff, when you're meeting all these people from different walks of life and different places, but you're at the same spot at the same time, you don't look at the differences. You look at not even necessarily what's the same, but you just have the love for each other, the good elements of being human within you. And that's some of the beauty of when you meet people, when you travel and all that sort of other stuff. You can see these horrible things that happen and see kind of why, in a way, they kind of end up happening. And in a way, you traveling is bit by bit making that, especially in your world, happen less, because it's the community of it. It's the meeting these people, having the best of times with all these sorts of people, you know, and spreading the joy of, you know, you just messaging the guys who are, you know, the 2 Canadian girls, and just being like, come over. That tiny act of just like the amount of happiness you can spread just from traveling and just being, you know.
Yeah, my friend Ryan, my travel companion Ryan, he said something the other day that really sort of sums me up. Like, as a person, I'm very attached to my phone. Yeah, I am. I admit that.
I'm a social media whore myself, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Like you and me both, my friend. And it's so there's that. But then he said literally the moment we landed in Bangkok, I was immediately like, right, put the phones away, let's go. Let's ask this guy for directions. Let's go this way. Let's just walk for a bit, you know. Yeah. Because, and this happens especially when I travel, there's that thirst for experience. Yeah. Like, just living life as it is, and like literally living in the moment is one of the best things you can do for your psychological state. Yeah, definitely. Like, it's I've got a lot of friends who, and I'm not going to name them by name because that's horrible. But I mean, they really need to get away from this place. They need to go and travel. Like, some people have that need, because if they stay here, they're going to be stuck in cabin fever in this rut. Exactly. But they'll be stuck in the rut of life. Yeah. Life has this horrible tendency to just grab you with its claws and then refuse to let you go. And sometimes you just have to grab it back.
Well, what someone I respect wholeheartedly, my sister-in-law Catherine, that I may have on the podcast at some point. I don't know if this is quoting from someone else, but she once said to me that change is like a holiday, in the sense of, even if you just change your surroundings, your environment, your job or something, just enough that you need a degree of routine. You know, this is my interpretation of her saying that line to me, is you need a degree of routine in general for stability, but you can't let it kind of twist and control every part of you. You need to change things up. You need to keep yourself on your toes a little bit, not just like intellectually and challenging yourself, but when you go to these different environments, then going to this new place, it changes everything, because you absorb all this new culture. You have to learn this. There's this place that you're not so familiar with, and all this sort of other stuff. So it's like just these environmental changes to yourself, where you choose to just go out and live in a different environment for X amount of time. That can really, I imagine you've had like epiphanies almost out there, where you, all those moments where I've had them, not necessarily all the time from traveling and stuff. I've had from other moments in my life, but it's like you kind of get that moment where you kind of something clicks, and it feels like everything kind of changes a little bit.
When everything sort of happens in life, people don't really notice it as much, but when you are in a situation like that, where you're traveling and you have all these experiences, and it's usually a much bigger change a lot more often. So you have little moments like that throughout your life, but then when you travel, because especially when you solo travel, because you're going through so much sort of uncertainty and there's so much going on, you have a lot lot more shit.
I bet there's a lot more solitary moments as well, aren't there, when you travel solo?
Definitely. Like
self-reflection moments or things.
Yeah, like there was a couple times, like whilst I was away last year on my first sort of solo, like big solo trip, just shit would go wrong.
Yeah.
Like stuff would happen. Like I had my laptop stolen. I had to rebook a bus ticket with no money.
Right.
Like I had to get a friend to wire me some. It was just all going to shit.
Oh, the
basically.
odds stacked against you, sort of thing.
Yeah. And I remember I was sat. I was in Rome, and I was supposed to be getting a shuttle bus to the airport for my flight at 6 a.m.
Right.
Midnight, I got to the train station, which is also where the bus was.
Yeah.
And I was searching for this bus station for the little stop where the bus would be, and I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it anywhere. I asked 3 separate people for directions. I asked 2 or 3 of the bus drivers themselves. I went into the train station and asked somebody. None of them knew where it was.
Right.
And it was closing in on. So I got there in time for 2 buses, right? So if I missed one, I still had another one, and it was closing in on the on the time for the second bus.
Oh, right.
And I was starting to panic, and I was crying, and I was just having like. I was hyperventilating. I was having a panic attack, basically. I was having a panic attack. I was sat on the floor of the bus station. I was talking to my friend, who also lives in... Well, he lived in Rome, and his name's Nick. He's an absolute sweetheart, but he's studying there at the moment. And I was talking to him about shit that was going wrong, and he was trying to calm me down. And eventually I was able to catch my breath, and I went searching again, and I found it. Turns out that they haven't updated the website, and they haven't updated any of the travel times, and it turns out that the last bus actually was at like 8 o'clock that night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they didn't actually have a shuttle bus, and I was like, shit. I had 20 euros in my account.
Right.
That was it. That's all the money I had. And a taxi to the airport was 50.
Right.
And I was sat on the pavement, basically, just crying my eyes out, thinking, how the fuck am I going to get there? I was looking on Google Maps at how long it would take me to walk there. 6.5 hours. It's too long. I wouldn't have even made it if I'd walked.
Right.
You know, I had no way to catch my flight. I had no way to book another flight to get home. And I was losing my mind. And this taxi driver saw me, and he came over, asked me what was wrong, and he didn't really speak much English. So in my broken Italian, I had to try and explain. He sort of got the message through, and he asked me to show him, and I took him over to the ATM, and I showed him, like, bit sketchy, bit dangerous, but it's only fucking my card, and it's got 20 euros on it. I didn't care, so I took him over. I showed him on the ATM that I had 20 euros, and he was like, okay, I'll take you to the airport for 20 euros.
Oh, wow.
And like got there, and that was fine.
Kindness of strangers.
Yeah. So that shit happens, but that was a moment in my life where I learned.
And where was this? Sorry.
Rome.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, and that was a moment in my life where I learned a lot about myself. I learned what limits I have. I learned how far I can push myself. I learned what I'm like under like with money. Like I've been a lot more careful with money on the last trip I went on because of that.
Yeah. Well, every mistake you make in life, it really is just a way to learn.
Yeah.
I bet people learn generally the best from their mistakes. I found that for my life. I've said some horrible things and done some very twatty things, but fortunately, kind of come out the other side of it and kind of learn from it. It's just it's how people grow. So it's kind of like the silver lining, trying to be optimistic in sort of situations, is that once you have had that horrendous thing happen to you, it's like Joe Rogan often says, Joe Rogan the podcaster, he often says, like, struggle is critical for actual happiness, because when you go through times like that, the relief when you're out of them is unlike anything else. It's even like small things, like if you go camping, you know, I went camping on a holiday thing, it's great, but you're in their tent, it's raining and the wind's going and you're like there, and it's like, then you go back to your home, and the comparison, you feel like you've kind of done something, and that's only on the very small scale, obviously. And the more grandiose, almost difficult things you can do, almost when you are out of the difficult situation and you come to those moments that are beautiful when you're traveling, or you come home from wherever you're doing whatever, it's like when I climbed Snowdon, you know, it was a struggle going up. It wasn't horrendously difficult. I want to clarify, it's one of the smaller mountains in the it's not the biggest of the three, but it's it was quite difficult. But once you get to that point and you've made it, or you come back down and you've done it, and it's just like, when you achieve certain things, or you either overcome great difficulty or you achieve something fantastic, there's just that pride in yourself, and you really feel like you've accomplished something. And it's one of those things where a lot of people feel meaningless, and they have those kind of existential sort of crises where it's like they feel like they haven't got a purpose, they haven't kind of done anything. And it's like traveling can be one of those ways to really give yourself that meaning in a way, because it's like, as I said earlier, with me, I want the natural wonders of the world and the man-made wonders of the world. I would just like to have that as a checklist to go there, and with all the culture around it, not just go there, see it, and come back. Obviously, just sort of the surrounding areas, and kind of, I'm quite a list orientated kind of person, so I'm quite like ticking things off a list sort of thing. So with me, that's what gives me purpose. There's other people who would like to work with animals in like a elephant sanctuary or something like that for a year, or would like to just travel around all of Asia and experience all the culture and that. And it's just, you kind of have to make your own purpose in life. Whether you're religious, whether you're spiritual, or whether you're an atheist, it shouldn't change that you only get a short amount of time on this earth. It's going to be gone in a blink of an eye. Your existence compared to the universe is minuscule, but that doesn't mean that you can't give it some great meaning. But you have to find what you want to do that. Some people find meaning in having tons of money, a giant house, and a car. And if that is actually what will make you happy, and if you truly believe that, and it's not one of those things where it's
filling a void. Yeah,
it's got to be something you're passionate about, you want. Some people want to collect every Star Wars figurine ever. And that's fine. If you get true satisfaction from something, as long as it's not hurting anyone else, then you should do it. You should pursue your dreams in a way. It should be. I believe that everyone should travel at least some degree to at least get out of the bubble a bit. But if traveling's not usually your thing and you only travel a little bit, that's fine if you can find something else that you really want to do.
Yeah.
But I do believe that experiencing other cultures, and often, especially when you're younger, fending for yourself, or even if you're 30 and you've never been out of England, you don't really know. You need to, at any age, you need to have been able to say that you can kind of at least gone out into the rest of the world once and just kind of live through it a bit. Even if you only go down to something like France for like a week or something like that, at least you've done that. At least it's just at least get out of it where you are once. But I mean, I agree. Traveling
for some people, I admit there are some people out there who traveling genuinely isn't their thing. Like it's not for them. They just prefer the thing. However, I do think everybody should try it.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through a particularly dark patch a few years ago around just stuff that happened, and I was in a very dark place, and I lost a lot of motivation for things that I'd been dreaming of pretty much my whole life.
That can happen. Life can take you down a peg sort of thing. It can take the wind out your sails.
Saps what you want from life out of you, and travel almost rekindled some of my passion for life, and now I travel a lot, not just because I enjoy it, but because it keeps me motivated. It keeps me looking for things in life that I want to fill my life with.
Keeps you striving. It's good. It's good to have purpose, and that's one of the things that I've got a lot of opinions about religion. I won't go into a lot of them at the moment, but I will in the future. But I will say one of the things that religion really gives people is a sense of community, right? Now, what a lot of people find as well is that religion can give people a sense of purpose. And what I find a lot of people, as I'm an atheist myself, but it's like one of the things that people can find difficult about either leaving a religion they don't want to be in or being completely religionless, they can find they can find that they don't have a purpose. And there's often people who are in religion as well who can feel like, I don't know what God's plan is. I don't know what he's doing for me. And I can't enforce this enough. Just do what you really do feel. It's a really weird thing to say. It sounds like some sort of hippie thing or something. Not to downplay hippies or anything, but it sounds like it's kind of that simple and also that complicated. It's excuse me. When you really find that thing or those sets of things that they really make you feel alive. There's certain things that you can really do. Like, there's certain people like to do thrill seeking. I've done skydiving and climbed snow, and that's kind of thrill seeking. Roller coasters as well, obviously a lower tier of thrill seeking. I love that thing, that rush. But I also love knowledge. So my thing is traveling around, seeing great things, absorbing culture, and learning things, but also I want to do skydiving, I want to go scuba diving, I want to go on fast boat rides, but I also want to climb mountains. And it's just like, that's me. That isn't everyone. But certain people, when you go traveling, because there's so many places in the world and there's so many things you can experience, you could go to 100 different countries and have 100 completely different experiences. You could go to the same country 10 times, have a completely different experience, you know? It's all about traveling opens up your eyes to the variety of human culture and how beautiful the world can be, you know? There are so many countries that are so beautiful, but there's no country that has everything. There just isn't just one, unfortunately, you know? You have to travel around to see others, to see the beauty in it.
Yeah, man.
But people also have to not miss the beauty in their own homes, like around in their own local countries, you know? Like England, for example, you know, we've got pretty horrendous weather a lot of the time, and a lot of England is quite rubbish, to be fair. But there's so much of England that has got so much history to it and so much beauty. There's so many countrysides and mountains and old castles and just so many great places and lakes and things like that you can just go to, and they're just, some places are so beautiful when you're standing, this is one of those cliche terms, but I've really found this, when you're standing at the top of a mountain, and obviously it's because there's a lot of wind and the air's a bit thinner and all sorts of other stuff, but it's like you feel just standing looking over this huge landscape of something. I can, when some people believe it was created by some sort of like a creator, like a person or a deity, it's moments like that where I don't personally believe that that everything is created by a conscious deity. However, those moments, that's when you can really see it, in a way. You can really see from, it's so perfectly beautiful. Some people can't imagine that almost being due to random events, in a sense, you know? Yeah. And I can sympathise with that. I can understand, I can see their point of view in that. I don't personally agree. However, sometimes you look at certain places and it's just beautiful. And one of the things also with religion I found, especially with a lot of the churches I've seen in England, some of the architecture, like in Spain, for example, as well, the La Catedral, I can't remember what it's called, the one that's still being built in Spain. Some of the religious buildings are absolutely beautiful. Like, some of the architecture of some of them are unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, I think it might be some of the places that you've been. I believe, I think there's some in Prague and things. My geography's not great, but there's certain mosques that I've seen that are made, and the inside of them is just unlike anything. I've seen pictures, and even that doesn't even, the pictures you see don't even, they're so hard to describe with words, but being there would be another level, where the colours of them, the structures of it all, how humans made it, especially when you go back to the times where a lot of these temples, a lot of these mosques, a lot of these churches were made, they didn't have electricity. And you just look at it and go, the human mind can imagine something that beautiful. And then you take a step back, and obviously that's the thing with travelling. You can go to landscapes which are purely natural, and they're some of the most beautiful sights you can see. But you can also see some of the glory of some of the things that humans have made, some of the ways that humans have kind of created their own beauty in the world. They've taken the resources from the world, whether it's making amazing gardens and flower features or building architectures and things. And it's like, humans unfortunately can destroy a lot, but we at the very least have moments and places which are just unlike anything else.
Yeah.
And as you've said, with traveling, you meet these people, you see these places, you can experience these things, which it's so hard to describe if you haven't been there. And pictures don't do it justice, videos don't do it justice. Sometimes with life, you've just got to experience it, you know. And that's one of the more difficult things that's coming, I believe, with our sort of this generation and with the technological sort of evolution. I love the internet. I love everything about the connectivity of it. You know, there are some bad things about it, obviously, but I love the beauty of being able to connect with people. But people are finding it easier and easier to be sucked into their phone and to be sucked into the digital world, in a sense, and not go out and experience life as much.
Yeah.
Because obviously life is scary. And as you said, you've had experiences where you're by yourself and things are going wrong, and that can happen, but that's part of life. Life, it's one of those things where it's quite a nice symmetry to the heartbeat. You look at a heartbeat on a heart rate monitor, and it's got its ups, it's got its downs, okay? Yeah. That's truly living. When you're dead, it's flat and there's nothing. You can't have these moments of joy and greatness without sometimes experiencing struggle and this negativity. And all life is, I find, really about is the ups and the downs. You learn from the downs and help bring you up. You kind of do that, you know. You live off the high of the up, but obviously the down is kind of the counter of it, you know. And if you don't go out and experience life and potentially have these amazing and sometimes terrible experiences, obviously I don't wish anyone to go for something truly horrendous, but you know, some of the more negative things, the stressful scenarios and stuff, then it makes you really live. it really brings it out. No one wants to. It's like having an animal. You don't want to have an animal living in this one cage. You want to have it living free, sort of thing. You know.
No, I mean, I completely get that. Like, there's actually one video I was just trying to find where I really want you to see it, because it's this guy talking about travel, and not just travel, but like life itself, and how people move through life, and what they miss out on, and what they sort of seize, and it's just that there's this one quote that really gets me, which is quotation, sorry, which is it's something along the lines of planes were built to live in the sky, right? And if you ignore that for yourself, if you live your entire life just in the beige, as it were, in the beige
zone,
exactly, then you never really experience it, and it's such a shame to live a life without never taking off.
That's nice. Yeah.
And
because a plane will never crash if it's just on the airstrip.
Yeah.
But it won't fly. It won't live out to its potential.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a very, very good. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it's I would love to keep continuing this chat, but we're coming up to the 2.5 hour mark now, and it's getting quite late. Just for the listeners, it's about 12:30 right now. Like, as not in the day, like it's past midnight. So obviously we'll definitely talk again and stuff. But I just thought if you want to say like one either thing you've taken from traveling, a recommendation, or maybe a little story or something, just kind of like a final little thing for the last few minutes of anything you'd just like to share. Of just obviously I know we didn't get to all the travelling that you did.
Not nearly.
No, we've got like maybe about halfway through one travel, so a lot to talk about. We can keep on going, but it's for this podcast we'll just have one more thing. So what few minutes, come on, what would you like to be the last thing of this podcast?
Okay. I'd say that the only thing that's stopping you from going off and travelling, like, and when I say you, I mean
one.
Yeah.
Or anyone who's listening who feels like they want to, if they feel motivated by this in any way. If you ever feel motivated to do anything that isn't something horrendous, obviously, it's like a hobby of yours, like me with podcasting, or you with travelling, just, you have no idea, like, this is only the second episode, just to caveat slightly, go off subject slightly, but it's like, this tiny thing is me podcasting, like, it's just been this thing that was building up within me for like weeks and maybe months, thinking about, I just want to do something, and I've had this thing where I want to have this creative outlet in some way, and I couldn't get it. And I'm only on this, only the second episode so far, but it doesn't matter how many people may or may not listen to this. This is truly what I want to do. I want to have these conversations with these people with different perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's one of the contributing things that's going to make me happy in the long term, And it's something that podcasting is quite small in comparison to things like traveling. But it's just anything that you are passionate about, making music, learning language, art, traveling, literally anything you want to do, the only thing is holding you back is you.
There is no big and small.
Yeah.
Like traveling's my thing.
Yeah.
Podcast is now your thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, like, because there's it doesn't mean that what one person does is necessarily bigger than somebody else's. Like, it's not like bigger in terms of sort of the experience of it. Like, this is it's still if it's important to you, then it's big.
Yeah.
And you should do it.
Same with bad things as well. If someone thinks something's wrong with them, that something's bad, like something, I'll go, some people will be like, oh, I've got this issue in my life, but there's people starving in the world, for example. And it's like, just because someone may have either done a bigger, in quotations, sort of accomplishment than you, or someone has something more negative in their life than you, that doesn't take away from that being your own experience, your own life. Because if we live that way, only one person could ever be happy in the world, and that'd be the happiest, and one person can be sad because they'd be the saddest, and that'd be it. Don't compare yourself to others of your accomplishments and stuff, because it's an intrinsic, your own life. It's your journey.
Exactly.
Live your life the way you'd want a story to be. If you were telling a story to someone, there's certain exciting parts. There's drama. There's happy bits. There's sad bits. Live a life as a story you'd want to tell someone one day.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it.
Exactly. Life is full. It's full of bountiful possibilities, and now is the time to reach in and find your new beginning.
That's beautiful.
Thanks, man.
I think that's it. So I think that's where we're going to end now. Then, so TJ, did you want to give out anyone Instagram or anything if anyone's interested in seeing some of your travels?
Yeah, I do have an Instagram which I regularly post. Obviously. Cat pictures and other shit that I get up to. It's mostly travel stuff. There's a few pictures from work on there, like my latte art, which I've really got into recently.
Yeah, latte art, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say you're going travelling at the end of October, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I
cool.
am.
So I'm not sure exactly when this podcast will be coming out, but if people follow you on there, it'll be just before you go travelling, or you're already out around there and stuff. So
yeah. So my Instagram is at that one sketchy bitch with underscores between each word.
So I'll include that in some of the links as well. With,
Yeah.
that sketchy bitch.
One sketchy bitch.
That one sketchy bitch. There
Yeah.
you go. Even though you're certainly not that sketchy.
I'm a bit sketchy.
Okay.
Mate, I've killed deer. I've skinned rabbits.
Deer.
Didn't know that about me, did you?
Deary me.
That's what happened. Oh, mate, that's what happens when you grow up in Devon. But you do shit like that.
Another story for another day.
Yeah.
All right.
Sick.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. And see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in then, guys. As I said at the start of the episode, please like us and subscribe and all that sort of stuff and all the social media. Share with anyone that you think might find these interesting. And next week will be the one with Alex Hart, my good buddy. We just talk about movies and stuff because we have an Instagram page called I Am Movies, which I'll put in the link and whatnot of the episode. And I think I'll put it in the artwork as well. And it's just, movie reviews, cool movie art, some trailers, steelbooks, that sort of thing. We post on there quite often, so it's quite cool to just check that out if you're interested. And so the next one's about an hour long, and it will be about movies. I haven't figured out which one I'm going to release after that, so, might not even be at the end of the next episode. I'm not even fully sure. I've got quite a few sort of recorded and sort of stockpiled, so, it's going to be an adventure.